Good morning, everybody. On a beautiful Friday in America, on planet Earth, and in the Milky Way galaxy, as not only has the NFL schedule dropped, but the Houston Astros have won 10 in a row. I want 12 because the Yankees won 11 in a row earlier in the season. Damn Yankees. Welcome in. 2 people in early. I'm guzzling some coffee while I can. Let me see if my headphones are working. They're kind of like that. First person to post, Luisa Alanis. Happy Friday the 13th, Luisa. Friday the 13th. Ooh-wee. Sports superstitions, perhaps? John Williams, welcome in from Dallas. Nice vintage profile pic, John. What is up? Jeremy Kolok is with us. Sam Tobias, the pride of HEB. A credit to the grocery industry and a fine American. Exactly. All praise Thomas Wade Landry and the football gods on high who have showered us with football blessings once again. Woo! Couple last sips of coffee. We'll do this little radio show on a Friday the 13th. I would have put Friday the 13th in that upper right-hand corner, but Astros winning 10 in a row, man. That's big. To me, that's bigger than Friday the 13th. But will Friday the 13th be unlucky for the Astros? Who do the Astros play today? I think that series with Minnesota is over. I'm pulling up the schedule right now. Tracy Bogert, welcome in. Wait, this is Friday. What am I doing here? Come on now. Come on, schedule. No, I don't want Sunday. I want Friday the 13th. I love it when at the Washington Nationals. Thank you. Hector Gomez, welcome in. Here we come, I do believe. Let's do this thing. I have to mute a little bit at the beginning for our evil Facebook overlords. Not today, Zuckerberg, you punk. Okay, here we go. I feel so much better. Tried to run, tried to hide. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the other side. Now, Chris Duel. According to the book of Exodus in the Torah, Moses climbed Mount Sinai, where the finger of God inscribed 2 tablets in stone. They were known as the 10 Commandments, and they were saved in the Ark of the Covenant. Well, not exactly the 10 Commandments, but close, pretty big. The NFL schedule has been revealed unto us by the football gods on high, including Thomas Wade Landry, who was once a mere mortal, but not a mere mortal, but the greatest football coach to ever walk on the face of this earth before he ascended into football heaven to join the football gods on high. George Halas, Newt Rockne, Red Grange, Texas E. Schramm, and others. And they now look down upon us and shower us with football blessings. And they did again yesterday, bestowing upon us the NFL 2022 regular season schedule. We know everything now. Opening night, Cowboys opener. Oh my God. Cowboys schedule. Thanksgiving. Meh. Christmas Day just to torment Jeremy Kolok, who would much rather watch NBA basketball on Christmas Day, believe it or not, than the National Football League. All that, and the Houston Astros have won 10 in a row. They won 2 yesterday because of the game that was postponed. They sweep the Minnesota Twins. I hope you like your Carlos Correa, because we like our Jeremy Pena in Houston. All that, and it is Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. Will it be an unlucky day for the Astros? Will their streak end at 10 as they travel to the Washington Nationals? And it begs the question on Friday the 13th, A, are you superstitious? And B, do you have sports superstitions? Yes. Blue Jersey jinx, Sports Illustrated jinx, Madden curse. Of course we do. And if you don't, you just don't understand quantum physics and the universe. That's all I'm saying. Thank you, OJ. Thank you, Juice. Welcome in on Friday the 13th. It's 13 after 6 right now. Oh my God. 13s are wild. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney and the hardest working man in radio, chief meteorologist, Jeremy Kolok. Shannon, there's Christmas, there's Easter, there's Thanksgiving, there's the Super Bowl, there's the NFL draft, and then there's NFL schedule drop day. Shannon, are you just reveling in total football bliss right now?
Chris, I'm still running through the schedule. 272 games. We now know when, where, and against who. The NFL season can't get here quickly enough. And, schedule release date, like you said, it's become a holiday. I mean, even the teams get more creative. We talked last year about what certain teams did. We'll go through that again today. It's becoming a moment for the NFL. I mean, I don't know that I get amped up when the NBA season drops. Do you?
No.
And college football,
it's 82 games. Yeah.
They'll schedule a game 10 years from now, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and get that on my calendar. So the NFL knows exactly what they're doing. And yesterday was a fantastic day. I wasn't even paying attention to the time, and then y'all sent me the link, and I was like, oh, it's here.
Yeah, and that Cowboys schedule dropped quick. I was just kind of getting ready to watch the broadcast, and that Cowboys schedule dropped very, very quickly. And let's just dive right into that, Shannon, on this Friday the 13th. Opening, we talked about would the NFL on opening night, because it was so huge last year on the Thursday night that opened the season, would they dare go Dallas Cowboys and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because we knew that those teams would play in Arlington at Cowboys Stadium / AT&T Stadium this year. Now, the NFL did not pull the trigger on that. I think they would have gotten some, if not a lot of heat for it. They gave us a beautiful matchup to open the season on Thursday night, and we will get into it. Your Buffalo Bills, led by your childhood friend and friend of the show, Mitch Morse at center, travel to SoFi Stadium to open the NFL season on Thursday night, September 8th against the Rams. But before we get into anything else, I think all Cowboys fans said, all right, who do we open up against? And I think Jerry Jones might even like this better, Shannon, than Thursday night. They experienced that last year. They get Sunday night football. This is like, I mean, I would call it the dessert, but for Cowboys fans, it is the feast of the entire football weekend, which starts early on Thursday, September 8th, Sunday, September 11th, which is, I whenever I say September 11th, I shudder and I think about 2001. However, we will be distracted on this Sunday, September 11th, by the National Football League, culminating on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Shannon, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tom Terrific, the GOAT, coming into AT&T Stadium to play the team that he hated as a kid because he was a San Francisco 49ers fan growing up in Northern California. Tom Brady in Arlington to take on America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. But this time, Shannon, there will be no blue jersey jinx unless Jerry Jones is a complete idiot. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott will hopefully shock the world and smite Tom Brady on opening night, Sunday night, opening night for the Cowboys.
Jerry Jones, possibly an idiot, but a complete idiot, I think not, because I look at this opening game on September 11th, which means emotions already going to be high for so many around the country. And then you have this game in prime time to close out the first week of the NFL. And I feel like Jerry was all over and pushing for this, right? Especially with how great that game was last year when these two kicked off the season. You know, why not do that again? Why not give the people what they want? This is kind of the game that we thought if they weren't going to be traditional, if they weren't going to have the Rams open things in SoFi Stadium as the reigning Super Bowl champs, that the Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Bucks matchup part 2 would be a great option. And obviously they stuck with tradition. It'll be the Bills at LA. So giving this to us as you say, the feast on Sunday, the anticipation, especially for me, will be high all day as I'm watching these other games go by, waiting. And, and then you add on the narrative that we didn't even have last year. Tom Brady, he was gone. Now he's back. Is he going to run the table for what might actually be his final season? Or will the Cowboys cramp his party, make him wish he stayed retired right from the jump?
So many questions, so many amazing games to take a look at this morning. And before we go to Jeremy Kolok, we've already got odds on some of these games. I think I saw that the Cowboys are 2.5-point underdogs. I had it right in front of me. I was going to read this to you right now. There it is. The Buccaneers are favored by 2.5, and the over-under is 52. That is a way too early line and an over-under, but hey, man, it's NFL football. We'll see how that line progresses from May 13th to September 11th. Jeremy Kolok, you are a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, huge NFL fan. Your thoughts on what we learned last night? How do you like the Cowboys opener, Sunday Night Football against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And we didn't even talk about week 2 for the Cowboys, which is almost as remarkable. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, you are correct. The first 2 games are quite remarkable and should get quite the attention. I thought the first thing you did, Chris, whenever I see the date September 11th, I think of the obvious thing, and I think, that's kind of a weird situation to be a part of, obviously, but the Cowboys are America's team, and you would hope that they note it accordingly. They respect it accordingly, even so many years later, before we get to focusing on the football game. And then hopefully after that, the Cowboys don't get absolutely dismantled by Tom Brady, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Tom Brady is absolutely undefeated against the Dallas Cowboys in his career to this point.
And, he grew up not liking them. And I got to believe as well in his career. And I love Brady now. Didn't used to, but I flipped on him. But Shannon, I got to believe in Tom Brady's career. Here he accomplished all of this with New England. He was the GOAT even before he went to Tampa Bay. He goes to Tampa Bay. He wins the Super Bowl the first season in Tampa Bay. If his defense could have stopped Matthew Stafford from chunking the ball way, 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 way downfield to Cooper Kupp, Brady might have won the last 2 Super Bowls. It could have happened. And meanwhile, as we know, the Dallas Cowboys are the highest rated team in the NFL, even though they haven't deserved it since Super Bowl 30. So from Tom Brady's perspective, it's like, what am I, chopped liver? Look at all I've done. Look at all we've done in New England and Tampa Bay, and yet everybody still talks Dallas Cowboys. They suck all the oxygen out of the room. I got to believe that Tom Brady would revel in yet another victory over the Cowboys and a second consecutive victory in prime time in week 1 as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback over America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Shannon, what do you think?
I completely agree. I mean, everyone wants to beat the Cowboys, even if they're, bottom of the barrel or the top of the heap. And for this being what people now assume because of the announcement that he's going into the broadcast booth, Tom Brady's final farewell season, an actual farewell season, right? He's getting that trip to Germany. Why not give him the first Sunday night football game and put it against the Dallas Cowboys? Because we all know the Cowboys, they, at the end of the year, and they bring out the rankings of the top 10 games viewed, Cowboys are always half of them. So why not make this a thing for Tom Brady? This game, particularly last year, was in the top 3, I believe, of most viewed games. So the NFL knows exactly what they're doing. And Tom Brady would, I think, love to start this season by not only being the Dallas Cowboys, but as Jeremy said, he's never lost to them. So to get to say maybe that's his last time to play them ever, and to go out that way, it's going to be picture perfect for Tom Brady. And unfortunately, as I look at this Dallas Cowboys schedule, I do count this one as a loss.
Well, and if it is a loss, Shannon, by the way, Jeremy just messaged us, Tom Brady is 6-0 against the Dallas Cowboys. If they do lose, and they're supposed to lose, they're 2.5-point underdogs on May 13th for that September 11th opener on Sunday Night Football against Tampa Bay. The very next week, Joe Burrow and the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals come to town. Now, I imagine the Cowboys will be a slight favorite at home against the Bengals, but that's a losable game, certainly. The Cowboys, Shannon, Tampa Bay on the opener, Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, week 2. If they're not careful, they could stumble out of the gate at 0-2, and no Cowboy fans want that.
Yeah, the three of us were kind of trading our thoughts on the season and what that win total might look like. And I think we were in agreement on a lot of things, but I think we take for granted how bad the NFC East has been. And the big talk coming out of the draft was that, the Eagles did fantastic, and New York and the Commanders really improved their teams. And so I don't know that we can just chalk up those games as wins anymore within our division. And then you look at the rest of the Cowboys schedule, and it's rough with Tampa Bay, with the Bengals, with Green Bay, obviously, and other teams that can surprise at times. Vegas this morning, for those interested, they went ahead and put Dallas at 10.5 wins for the season. If you're a betting person, go ahead and get those bets in, which I think is fair. I'll take that. But I don't know. Is that enough to win the NFC East? And is that enough to mean that they're going to pull off some playoff wins? I don't know.
Well, remember this, though, in the post-Jimmy Johnson era, and I still count that win that Barry Switzer got over Pittsburgh in Super Bowl 30 with Jimmy Johnson's guys. I don't count that as Jerry Jones's era, although I'm sure he does. Usually after a decent season, and this wasn't really a decent season because they got punked in the first round by the San Francisco 49ers, they will then disappoint. Usually, they'll go to the playoffs and we'll go, ooh, they're going to be really good this year. And then they'll go 8-8 back in the 16-game season. So while 10.5 is the over-under in Vegas right now for the Cowboys wins in a 17-game season, don't rule out them laying an egg. I do want to mention, Shannon, we talked about the actual opening game, which is the Buffalo Bills at the LA Rams. We'll get more into that. Sunday night, of course, Cowboy fans will be in heaven as Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come to Arlington. But Monday Night Football, the maiden voyage of Troy Aikman and Joe Buck on Monday Night Football, the Denver Broncos, led by Russell Wilson, go to Seattle, back to the scene of the crime, on the regular season opener, the first one that counts for Russell Wilson. That is a delicious opener for Monday Night Football on week 1.
I mean, we are wasting no time. I haven't looked at the Texans schedule to see when they play the Browns. I know that obviously is highlighted because of Deshaun Watson. That looks to be like it'll be later. Yeah, December, so they're going to get that narrative of how those two teams are doing, how their prospective quarterbacks are doing, how Deshaun Watson going to the Browns, how is that looking? But Russell's not getting any time. This is game 1, go back home. And I almost want to go ahead and give the dub to Denver because, there's no reason for Russell to not be uncomfortable playing in that stadium. It's going to be a little weird. He's going to be in a different jersey, but it's almost going to feel like it's just a normal season. It probably won't feel like a new season until he goes on to week 2. I love that the NFL did this. I think it's, looking at the rest of week 1, not a whole lot that necessarily excites me, not knowing where teams stand to start the season, but that game, I think for Monday night, and you mentioned Troy being a commentator for it, that's going to be great.
So much to talk about, and we got a couple of great guests for this morning after the NFL schedule drop, just about a half an hour away, just after the top of the hour. Coach A, Paul Alexander, our football guru, his thoughts on this NFL schedule and the Cowboys schedule, and we will look closer at the Texans schedule as well. And if we're going to talk a lot of NFL today, and we will, we'll also talk NBA playoffs, Astros 10-game win streak, and more. But a lot of NFL today, as God intended. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame going to join us just after 8 o'clock. So a couple of big-time, outstanding football-oriented guests, Paul Alexander and James Allen, joining us on this Friday the 13th. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And I want to hear your sports superstitions on Friday the 13th. For me, it's the Blue Jersey jinx, the Sports Illustrated jinx, and the Madden curse, and the Tony Romo jinx, of course. If he's in your building, your team's going to lose. Want to hear from you. iHeart Radio app, the talkback button, or dial us up on the phone lines, 800-707-9760. Also, the live video feed that you can access on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Jeremy Kolok. The high five play of the day. Who'd have thunk we'd give a high five to one of the dudes we're giving a high five to? It's a shocker. It must be Friday the 13th because everything is askew in this sports world. Don't go anywhere. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Sam Tobias, you're reading my mind, man. Beth Settle, good morning. Beth Settle, you are up early. Everybody in here, all 13 of you on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook right now. There are 13 of you on Friday the 13th. It's crazy. Louisa Alanis got in here first. John Williams, Sam Tobias, Tracy Bogert, chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans, Vladimir Putin sympathizers and voter suppression enthusiasts, welcome in. Hector Gomez, the pride of Central Catholic High School. Jesse Bratton, good morning. Anthony Del Toro, good morning. Jason Paniagua, buenos dias. Dave Emilio Castanuela, Foamfoot 420, a.k.a. Amber, says happy Friday the 13th. Woo! Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that Monday Night Football. All right, let's see. Do I do coffee? Yeah, why the heck not? Or as Kinky Friedman would say, why the hell not? Did somebody say ice? I do have some ice in my iced tea. So yeah, I got cold and hot, and both are caffeine delivery systems. Woo! 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 Okay, what was that? Okay, I hit the wrong button. David Pryor, welcome in, David. Good morning. And again, I only see the people who comment. So there are 16 people in here across 3 platforms at the moment: Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So if I haven't said good morning to you, I'm not being rude. It's just that I don't see your name. If I see your name, I say hi. So good morning. All right, let us whip out the Gigantor Cody HEB brand Strato Tanker O Coffee. Cody, because I work in radio and I can't afford Yeti. I don't make that Shannon Sweeney money. He has all the Yeti gear from Austin FC. Cardboard Breggy behind me, Alex Bregman. Astros 10 in a row. I want 12 in a row because the Yankees have already won. The damn Yankees, thank you, have already won 11 in a row at one point this season. That is their official name, the damn Yankees. We know that. I strive for accuracy on this show. I don't always achieve it, but I strive for it. Carl Fisher, good morning. Carl, a big Boston Red Sox fan. I better guzzle coffee while I can before we come back from break. Going to do the high five play of the day. If you haven't seen what we're about to talk about, it's pretty amazing. Let me see if that's... Oh, that's too loud.
So that's what.
Do you mean June 17th? It's not on May 17th, is it? Is it May 17th, Hector? That's 4 days away. NBA draft. Oh, the lottery. Okay. Yeah, you threw me on that. Yeah, the draft is June 23rd. You're talking draft lottery. Now I got you. And that is May 17th. You are correct, sir. Yeah, you freaked me out, Hector. It's like, whoa. The draft is on the 17th. I need to brush up on that. David Pryor says, that's my birthday, May 17th. David, remind us on May 17th, which is going to be next week, right? Because today's the 13th. So that won't fall on the weekend. Oh, the 27th. Ah. Okay. I don't know what day May 27th falls on. But if it's a weekday, we will absolutely give you a shout out on the radio. Because we're all about the birthday shout outs. Wow, we're back really late this hour. We're almost back, but it's 38. It's almost 39. And we are normally back by 35, 36. Oh, the 17th. Okay, there you go. Jump in here. I'm born on the 17th, but it's not May. It's August. It's a good day. It's a good number. Here we come.
Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-97.
Jeremy Kolok. Superstitious by Stevie Wonder. A classic, one of his biggest hits, and perfect for a Friday the 13th playlist. Welcome in on this Friday the 13th. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. NFL schedules have dropped. We're all over them, especially as they relate to America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. We will talk NBA playoffs. We will talk Houston Astros, who have won 10 in a row. They're in Washington to take on the Nationals today. Will Friday the 13th be unlucky for the Astros, or will the streak go to 11? I believe the longest winning streak in Major League Baseball this season is 11 by the damn Yankees. That's their official name. They're not the New York Yankees. They're the damn Yankees. So I want 12. I want a winning streak of 12 so we can put the Yankees in their place, including David Munoz, who works in this building and for some unknown reason is a Yankees fan, but we still forgive him, barely, begrudgingly. Join us on the free iHeartRadio app, where we're always crystal clear. When you do, there's a button at the bottom, a microphone button. That's the talkback button. You press it, you leave us a message of your choice. Press send. We get it. I'm interested. Shannon's interested. Jeremy's interested. What are your sports superstitions? on this Friday the 13th. You can leave those there. We'll play them on the air if you leave us your sports superstitions. Or you can say, hey, man, I don't got no sports superstitions. I don't believe in that stuff. That's okay. You can do that, and we will mock and humiliate you publicly on the air if you do that. What else? Shannon Salty Shakedown coming up 7:35-ish. Paul Alexander just after the top of the hour to talk all things football. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But right now, it is time for the High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. If you're a sports fan and you like food and you like drinks and you like games, it's like Mecca for you. They've got big screen TVs everywhere, sports all over the place on TV. They have great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials. They have great games you can play, tons of them. Bowling, laser tag, axe throwing, zombie dodgeball, and many, many, many more. Get into one of the 2 High Five locations in the Austin area. Shannon, if you would have told me yesterday, there's 2 main people that get the High Five today. If you would have told me one of their names, that you and I and Jeremy would give this dude a high five, I would have said, how the hell can that guy earn a high five from us and this radio show on Friday the 13th? But he has. Shannon, run it down for us.
Well, and not just a high five to this man, but in relation to our beloved Dallas Cowboys, it makes it that much more strange. As we talked about, the NFL season was dropped yesterday. And of course, there was a show on the NFL Network that you could have tuned into, or you could have been following your favorite team's social media platforms, because so many have gotten creative with their own schedule release. The Cowboys, specifically last year, they had a Post Malone video in which he, as Post Malone, delivered the schedule to Jerry Jones. And that is how we found out the 2021 season. So for 2022, how are they going to step it up? How were they going to top Mr. Post Malone? And that was to apparently invite widely known Dallas Cowboys hater Stephen A. Smith to the party. And in the video, it kicks off with Stephen A. Smith sitting down and doing his typical Cowboys garb, laughing. He's got his signature black Cowboys hat on. As we know, during the regular season on his show, he'll usually walk in on a Monday or Tuesday after a Cowboys loss, wearing that hat, laughing his way to his chair before he goes on a little rant about how much the Cowboys suck. Well, Jerry and company were recording Stephen A. Smith saying all of these things about the Cowboys, and then cut to Jerry. Apparently, he could be a Jeremy on this show because he's great with editing audio and remixing things, and ultimately remixed what Stephen A. Smith had to say. So we've got 2 clips for you here from that video. The first one is Stephen A. being Stephen A.
You didn't think you'd see me this early, did you? You didn't think you'd see me this early. Howdy. How do you do? To you Cowboy fans out there, oh, I love it. You people don't let me down one bit. I'm looking at this 2022 season schedule right here. Y'all in trouble. I mean, I'm seeing a few wins here, but not many. You might win the NFC East Championship, but let me be clear, and I said this in the past, I don't care if you think you got a chance against one of my favorites, and them boys in Green Bay, you think you got a shot against them? I only got one thing to say to y'all, all right? Stay off the weed. That ain't the ramp. That's the ramp. They're the best of the best. Y'all got no shot. No shot. Cut, light. What would you talking for? What that say? What is that? I'm not finished. I got about 6-7 games. I mean, I didn't even get started.
But we got everything. Thank you so much, though. We really appreciate it.
Howdy. We
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
boys.
Stephen A.
I
Smith
love that boy, man.
with
They're the
his
best of the
incredible
best.
performance on that Dallas Cowboys video. Shannon, I think we've got your audio back now. This should your thoughts on when you first took a look at that.
I mean, they had like I guess the cover art for this was, you know, kind of a silhouette of Stephen A. And I thought, surely that's not what we're doing here. And then they let him go off. So then, you know, that's the beginning of the video, and you're wondering, okay, how are they going to spin this as the Dallas Cowboys? And as we know, Jerry loves to be the star of every show, so he inserts himself into these schedule drops. Right, last year all about Post Malone delivering the schedule to Jerry. We have a short clip of Micah Parsons coming in asking if he could get a meeting with Jerry, but Jerry is said to be too busy, and we find out that Jerry has taken what Stephen A. Smith just said, what we just heard, and has remixed it in favor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Jerry Jones' office. Can I be on hold real quick?
I need to speak to Mr. Jones.
Maggie, he's really busy right now. You're gonna have to come back another time.
Even for me? Got it, schedule coming out and see the damn Cowboys play. Howdy! We the boys. I love Cowboys fans. They're the best of the best. NFC East. Y'all in trouble. Damn Jerry Jones. But let me be clear, and I said this in the past to those Cowboy fans out there. All I can say is 2022 season championship. Damn Cowboys!
We love it. Stephen A. Smith just called the Dallas Cowboys champs. If you didn't hear that clearly enough. I love that Stephen A. Props to him for obviously being a part of it and for playing along with the joke. I'm sure it'll be a hot topic today on his show. I believe that starts at 10 if you have any interest in watching that. But Chris, also with the drop of that video, the Cowboys also, you know, graphics are such a huge thing in today's world with social media, and they released some phone backgrounds. I am horrible at changing my phone background. My phone background has been the same for 5 years, and prior to that it was the same thing for another 5 years. So I don't often change my phone backgrounds, but the Dallas Cowboys released schedule lock screens for your phone or wallpapers yesterday that include the schedule, and there's 4 different versions. You can get one with Dak Prescott, one with Micah Parsons, one with Mr. Ezekiel Elliott, and then or excuse me, not Micah Parsons, they didn't include him, that is CeeDee Lamb. And then also, I think rightfully deserving attention at the start of this season, one Mr. Trayvon Diggs, who of course was a stud last year. Everyone wanted his jersey and was asking Jerry Jones about where can we get this jersey, where can we get his jersey, and it just wasn't available until the end of the season. So to see him get some graphic love from the Cowboys, if you want to have him as your lock screen along with that Cowboys schedule, you can get that. Are you a lock screen guy, Chris? And is this
I am
something
not.
You would go for? Okay.
No, I got one kind of screen on my phone and that's it. So, you know, but I want to say this though, when this video dropped, that got our high five, Stephen A. Smith and Jerry Jones, the first time I'm looking at Twitter last night and I see Don Harris responding to a video. Our friend from News 4, he joined us a couple of days. Was that yesterday on the show? Yeah, saying how much he liked the salty shakedown. And Don Harris said, had to bug out 10 seconds in. This guy is fingers on chalkboard to me. Automatic switch the channel. Somebody tell me if it's good. So I read that before I knew who it was, because at the beginning of the video, wearing a cowboy hat, Stephen A. Smith is in silhouette with like bluish cowboy, colors behind him. So I'm like, man, who does who is this cowboy? Is it a country and western singer that Don Harris doesn't like? Then all of a sudden it was revealed it was Stephen A. Smith. So I wonder how many people like Don Harris, Cowboys fans, as soon as they saw Stephen A. Smith, said, oh, screw this. I'm out of here. I'm not even. Don Harris stopped watching 10 seconds in when he saw it was Stephen A. Smith. And I think it was very clever to get probably, maybe not even probably, the biggest Cowboys detractor on the planet because of his platform, constantly mocking the Cowboys and their fans, Stephen A. Smith, to join forces with Jerry Jones on a Dallas Cowboys schedule release video. Shannon, I think it's absolute brilliance. I mean, huge kudos to whoever, I'm assuming in the Cowboys organization, who came up with this idea.
Yeah. You mentioned his disdain for Cowboys fans, Stephen A. Smith. Micah Parsons, after that video was released, tweeted, Stephen A., I know you really want to be one of us. We'll take care of you, man. The hate can't last forever. And Stephen A. responded saying, ha, never, but I have no hate for y'all. It's all love, just fun and games. But them damn Dallas Cowboys fans truly do get on my nerves. So really it's us, Chris, that he has a problem with, much, much less than the team. But that video released 10 hours ago, now at 430,000 views.
Wow.
So enough people haven't turned away from it after Stephen A. appears.
If the Cowboys could do as well on the football field as Jerry Jones does in marketing and making money, the most valued football franchise on the planet, we would have maybe had some more Super Bowls by now. Jeremy Kolok, your comment on the Stephen A. Smith, Jerry Jones schedule release video that dropped yesterday evening.
I thought it was pretty clever. I think, I saw all these teams release their videos, and I think there was a lot of duds, and I think the Cowboys was a successful video. I think they did well.
Do you think the Cowboys won the competition? Do you think that was the best video in the NFL?
Oh, no, I think the Denver Broncos won the competition. You should go check out what they released if you haven't seen
I
it.
have not, and I will, and I appreciate the recommendation, and we'll walk you through that coming up. All right, get ready. We are going to ascend to the summit of Mount Landry and sit at the feet of our football guru, Paul Alexander, Coach A. He will bestow football enlightenment upon us. We will achieve absolute football zen within moments. Don't go anywhere. Coach A, Paul Alexander, Cowboys, Texans, NFL schedule. We are all over it. Sports update at the top of the hour. NBA playoffs, Astros 10-game win streak. It's the Chris Duel Show. O.M. Garcia says, good morning. Love Don Harris. So do I. He's tremendous. Absolutely do not like Stephen A. I also will not listen to him. See, this is where I realize that Stephen A. Smith is an entertainer. And I realize that Skip Bayless, who used to be paired with Stephen A., is an entertainer. And if you can entertain me, even if I disagree with your point of view, then I enjoy Stephen A. Smith. I enjoy Skip Bayless, and I know a lot of Cowboys fans do not. Nice, Jason. I'll have to check that one out too. Okay, I am going to heat up some coffee. I will be back. Cardboard Breggy behind me. And kind enough to sit in. Greg will have him and Alex Bregman in the same frame. The one, the only. Mike Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. Coffee refill. Thank you. I'll be back in a sec. Thank you, David Pryor. Thanks for hanging out, man. Have a good weekend. David Pryor has left the building. David, if you're still here, remind me on May 17th, man. We will wish you a happy birthday. Woo! Steve Duraco with his new profile pic. Steve Duraco, the original Rock, the original Italian Stallion, co-founder of the San Antonio Polar Bear Club. Steve Duraco went with me to the big Texas fight tour at the Rustic on Monday night. Woo! 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 Oh, I got to send an email. Let me, before I forget. Gotta get my Paul Alexander photo here. All right. All right. Let me find my Paul Alexander. Yeah, and John, I was never I know Ric Flair does woo, but I was never, I don't do that as a derivation of Ric Flair, and I never really watched a lot of Ric Flair over the years. I'm aware of it, but so I'm not trying to be derivative. I just say woo. And mine's a little different from what I understand. Paul Alexander, where is he? Where's my Paul Alexander? Come on now. I'm getting more and more photos on my guest list here. There he is. Thank goodness. All right, there's that. Oh, I need to lose that crawl at the bottom because it blocks some of Paul's name. So we'll go ahead and hide that for now. All right. Woo! Go look at Paul's Facebook page. See what he's been posting about. If you don't follow Paul on Facebook, I mean, you could certainly friend him. But if you don't friend him, you could follow him. He, in addition to radicallyrational.com, he puts out a lot of really good stuff on Facebook. Very opinionated and thought-provoking, often funny and entertaining. Paul will be in here a week from today, co-hosting the show with Shannon. I need to remind that on the radio, or mention that on the radio. Jason Paniagua, Ric Flair versus Kerry Von Erich in Irving Stadium. You mean Texas Stadium in Irving? Was a great match for world-class championship wrestling. Cool. Doesn't Ric Flair have a daughter now that's involved in wrestling? I think. And I'm not a huge wrestling guy. I appreciate its popularity. People love it. I know a lot of people who absolutely love it. All right. Paul Alexander, moments away. Okay. Thank you, sir. Here we come. I got to mute a little bit at the outset for our evil Facebook overlords. Not today, Zuckerberg. You punk. Thank you. I have nothing against Mark Zuckerberg other than, allowing misinformation to go out on his platform.
Now, Chris Duel.
Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. It is a beautiful day in America. It is a beautiful day on planet Earth as the football gods on high have showered us with blessings once again, this time in the form of the schedule for the National Football League. And oh, by the way, if that doesn't put an extra spring in your step, how about the Houston Astros 10-game win streak? But I say that while reminding you today is Friday the 13th, and I hope today is not unlucky for the Houston Astros who travel to our nation's capital to take on the Washington Nationals. Go Stros, keep the win streak going. We could not have a show the day after the NFL schedule dropped without this man, Coach A. Paul Alexander, his magnificent website, radicallyrational.com. You need to explore it. It's fantastic. And oh, by the way, a week from today and a week from this coming Monday, Coach A. Paul Alexander will be in for me in this studio, hosting the show with Shannon Salty Sweeney so that I can go to Austin and see the Eagles and Daryl Hall and Todd Rundgren beginning a week from tonight. The coach, Coach A. Paul Alexander, how are you on this Friday the 13th?
Very well indeed. I mean, what a night it was last night. And it's predictable, and I'm so malleable. They know they can hook me. I get excited about this. But when they finally release the full schedule every year, all this gets real. Now you're talking about real matchups on real days. And the NFL, while they don't do everything perfectly, they do what they do well better than anybody else. And they loaded that thing up last night, and I think there's some really interesting takeaways. But if the idea was to get you just all ginned up and ready for some football, they did that and then some.
Well, let's start from the very beginning, Paul, with the Bills and Rams kicking off the 2022 season in LA. Josh Allen and company heading to the reigning Super Bowl champs. How do you like that one? Does it excite you at all? Because, we now know that we're getting Tampa and Cowboys again week one, just not as the official opener. But Bills versus Rams, what do you think about that one?
I'm lit up like a pinball machine. I mean, what could you want more than that? The Bills kind of becoming everybody's hot pick in the AFC, including mine, to tell you the truth. They're at that stage in their development where this ought to be the year that they can break through. The Rams, you're wondering if they can repeat. They've got some holes. They've got some changes. They've lost some key players, but they still have that nucleus, and they are a very sexy team. The league missed no opportunity last night to get the most attractive matchups they could in a lot of areas. And the one thing I want to mention real quickly, did you take a detailed look at the Monday Night Football schedule? My goodness, could the league have kissed up to ESPN any more than that? I mean, every single week it is big dog on big dog. I guess it's Aikman and Buck are feeling pretty good this morning.
Absolutely. And the very first one, of course, will be Russell Wilson and his Denver Broncos on the first Monday Night Football matchup. Going to Seattle. Russell Wilson's first meaningful game as a Bronco back in Seattle against his old team, the Seahawks. Coach A, Paul Alexander, with us. Paul, I was wondering what the Cowboys' opening game would be. Last year, of course, they opened the season on Thursday Night Football at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were the defending Super Bowl champions, darn near beat Tom Brady and the Bucs. In fact, as I recall, the Cowboys led that game with about 1:10 to play before Brady took the Bucs down the field to snatch the victory away from the Cowboys. I got to believe, other than opening night, Paul, for Cowboys fans, and I got to believe for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, in their house, AT&T Stadium, Sunday Night Football in prime time, the eyes of the nation, the eyes of the world on the Cowboys, and in comes Tom Brady with his 6-0 lifetime record against America's team. About as exciting an opener for the Cowboys as we could have orchestrated.
It's got it all for sure. An opening night can always be magic. And we all remember, as you decided, Chris, how truly great that opener was last year. We're looking forward to the matchup. You start handicapping these things. In a way, you're going to have that opening night buzz going for the Cowboys. But I think it's more likely to assume that the Bucs are going to be a little more ready to start the season than the Cowboys are. I'm not saying the Cowboys don't have potential, but there are going to be a lot of changes there, a lot of transition there. And their chances of having everything hitting on all 8 on week 1 aren't as good, I think, as those of the Bucs are. So that'll be really interesting indeed. We'll see if they get any pressure on Tom Brady, see if they especially can get any pressure up the middle in his face, because that's the one thing that he, along with really every NFL quarterback, is vulnerable to. But just, again, an exciting matchup. Yes, not that I do this, not that I participate, but I did check the early betting line, and the Bucs are a 2.5-point favorite.
Another game that Chris and I were excited to get to see yesterday was the Thanksgiving game for the Dallas Cowboys. It's always a big one. Obviously, we would have loved to see like a Green Bay, I think, but that game will be at Green Bay. So Thanksgiving Day in Dallas will be against the New York Giants. Does that one excite you for what has become kind of a Thanksgiving Day tradition for Cowboys fans?
Yeah, pretty much. A division matchup for sure. And, I've heard a lot of speculation. I read a lot of things last night and this morning, people talking about the Cowboys having perhaps the easiest schedule in the NFL or tied with the Commanders. And, of course, that's all based on last year's win-loss records, and things change. I'm going to disagree just a little bit. Now, the schedule maker did do Dallas one favor. They're one of only, I think, 3 teams in the NFL that have 3 consecutive home games. That's really, really an advantage. On the other hand, they're saying that one of the reasons they think that the Cowboys have a relatively easy schedule is they're playing the AFC South. Okay, I'll grant you that's a mismatch against the Jaguars. I will grant you that is probably a mismatch against the Texans, although that game could get sideways in a hurry. But straight up in the other 2, I'd say that Dallas would be the underdogs against both the Titans and the Colts.
My goodness. Yeah, so much to consider here. Paul, I got to ask you this because, you go all the way back with the Dallas Cowboys, as I pretty much do. We both became Dallas Cowboys fans as soon as we were conscious of this football team in the 1960s. Whenever the Cowboys, ever since I was like a 10-year-old kid, when the Cowboys schedule comes down, I can't help myself. I go game by game. I go, all right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's a loss probably. All right, week 2, Cincinnati Bengals at home. Maybe we win that. I can't help myself. I go game by game and figure out what I think the one-loss record will be. Do you engage in such an activity?
Absolutely, because it's irresistible. You have to do it. And I will tell you that the players in the NFL do exactly the same thing. So I've already done my Lockhart High School math, and that's kind of looking like 10-7 to me.
Which Vegas would love you. Shannon just told us that Vegas, the over/under is 10.5. So you're right on that number because you can't predict a half win and a half loss unless you go with a tie.
Well, and with that, I'm sitting here and earlier in the week prior to the schedule being released, the strengths of schedule were released, and the Cowboys and the Commanders at the bottom of the list with the weakest schedule. And yet we're sitting here and only thinking that the Cowboys could get 10, maybe 11 wins on the season. What does that say about where this organization is?
I think it says a lot about where the NFL is. That you have parity like that, and even when you're talking about relatively easy schedules, there's no such thing as an easy schedule. So, yeah, I think it does reflect a little bit of lack of confidence in the quality of this year's Cowboys team and how much they may have lost from last year. But more than anything else, I think it reflects on the quality parity of the NFL. You just don't have a lot of gimmies anymore.
Well, and we're talking with Coach A, Paul Alexander from RadicallyRational.com, sifting through the Dallas Cowboys and the entire NFL schedule that dropped yesterday and in the evening. So, Paul, opening against Tampa, as you mentioned, 2.5-point underdogs. I think if we're going to be objective, Tampa is the Buccaneers are supposed to win that game. Joe Burrow and the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals in week 2 in Arlington. Dangerous game. Hopefully the Cowboys win that. Then we go into the division at the Giants, home against Washington. You hopefully win both of those, but you could split them. Then in October, you're at the LA Rams. And then you're at the Philadelphia Eagles. Paul, I think most people believe if there's going to be a competitor for that NFC East with the Cowboys, the Eagles might have the best chance to take it. If the Cowboys don't make some hay in the first 5-7 games, Paul, I'm thinking they could find themselves in a big hole early.
Really could, and there would be some pressure there because those other 3 teams in the NFC East are all really improved. I mean, we saw the Eagles make that quantum leap late last year, but they're going to be even better because they've got a year's experience. They've loaded up that receiving core. I think they have more confidence in Jalen Hurts than they did before, and they play with a real fire. I mean, they play very, very hard every week, and they're consistent in that effort. And you can kind of tell they feel themselves coming on. The Giants organization finally has reflected some degree of competence for the first time in a long time. And they do have some players. And, we were saying this last year. The Commanders, you actually look at their roster, that is or ought to be a pretty good football team. So in addition to the fact that I think people are assuming that the Cowboys playing the AFC South is going to be a cakewalk, and I disagree. But beyond that, just that schedule within your division is just going to be so much more challenging than it was a year ago. And we all know the Cowboys have had real trouble putting back-to-back division championships together or even putting back-to-back playoff appearances together.
Coach A, our producer Jeremy is not a big fan of football games on Christmas because he wants to dive into the NBA. But for me, I think it's going to be a very Merry Christmas because Saturday, December 24th, we've got a full slate of games, including a mid-afternoon game with the Eagles and the Cowboys. And then the next day, Christmas, December 25th, on a Sunday. So we're going to get 3 games starting at noon and going throughout the rest of the day. How do you feel about this? I mean, it doesn't happen every year. So to me, it just makes Christmas feel that much more special.
I realize that this is all just because of the way the calendar fell out, and the Christmas Day this year is on a Sunday. But you know how much I love Jeremy. I love working with Jeremy. I love looking forward to seeing Jeremy, etc. But this is one of these times where I just have to roll my eye. No, I'm going to say this. Look, I'm an NBA fan. I'm an NBA fan starting in, March. Okay? But on Christmas Day, I want the NFL. I want the big dog to woof and yap and bury the NBA because I dislike NBA basketball in November and December almost as much as I love it in April and May and June. And again, I realize it's just kind of a calendar fluke, but the extent to which the big dog is going to chump the NBA, I love it.
All right, Jeremy, shots fired. You have to respond to Coach A, Paul Alexander, who takes issue with your desire to watch NBA basketball on Christmas.
Look, I hear what he's saying. I appreciate that it's just, I understand that it just came down this way because of the calendar. I hesitate to point out that the NFL owns Thanksgiving, which I'm very proud of, to spend my Thanksgivings watching my beloved Dallas Cowboys. And look, we got NFL this year on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It's just a lot, and all I'm saying is it seems like a slippery slope. Like, I'm fine with it this year, Coach A. I'm fine with it, but I don't want this every year. Not every year. Just let me have my basketball on Christmas Day, and the very next day I will get fully 100% back into football. I promise.
We will give you one random Wednesday in November.
Okay, all right.
Coach A, Paul Alexander with us. Paul, a week from today when you're in the studio, maybe you can talk some sense into Jeremy. We'll see how that goes. I do want to take a look at the Houston Texans schedule, Paul. I mean, they're my second favorite team because they're Texas. I dream before I die, I hope the football gods give me and you and everyone an all Texas Super Bowl. I think that means I better live many, many more years because it ain't coming anytime soon. But on opening day, high noon at NRG Stadium, the Indianapolis Colts come in with Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, to open it up for the Texans. Then they go on the road at the Broncos, then at the Bears, and then home against the Chargers in week 4 before they take on the Jaguars in a winnable game on the road week 5. Your thoughts on the Houston Texans schedule, and what are your expectations for the Houston Texans this coming season?
Well, first of all, when you look at the schedule, it looks to me like the league really didn't do them any favors for a couple of reasons. The Texans only have back-to-back home games one time in a 17-game season. And the other thing is their bye comes really early in week 6, and that's way earlier than anybody would want. And as for the Colts, man, if there's anything for a Texan fan that just gives you the shiver and shake, because you've seen this. You've seen this phobia. I can't tell you the number of times I've been in that stadium, and the Texans have had a lead over the Colts, and you're thinking this is actually going to happen, and either Peyton Manning or Adam Vinatieri breaks your heart. I mean, that's just wolfbane for the Texans. I mean, they've just never been able to handle the Colts. Now, the one thing I'm fired up about, though, isn't it great? Isn't it great when an adult's in charge, where you feel like somebody who's confident is running the whole thing? Don't you get a warm and fuzzy about Lovey? Lovey just knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
Coming off right now.
Yeah, I just hope that front office of the Houston Texans, I hope they let Lovie Smith do his thing as head coach. I hope there's not a lot of interference. There's what's not to love about Lovie. Everybody does love him, and he knows his football. And hopefully they will take care of business. I do want one more football question for you, Paul, though. And clearly the Indianapolis Colts, a huge upgrade at quarterback from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. As we know, Carson Wentz goes to the Washington Commanders. You talked about them earlier. You talked about their roster, which is very formidable. Don't sleep on the Commanders. But I feel a lot better as a Cowboys fan knowing that Carson Wentz might be pulling the trigger for the Commanders, because I got a feeling when he pulls the trigger, that football is going to wind up in the hands of linebackers and defensive backs quite a bit.
Yeah, I understand you feel that way, because that's what his track record indicates. I really can't figure it out at all. Remember that year just several years ago, where until he got hurt, he was the odds-on favorite to be the NFL MVP. He was clearly the dominant player, and he did get hurt, and then the Eagles go on and win the Super Bowl anyway. And, you know, you look at the way the Colts just couldn't wait to wash their hands of Carson Wentz. And when you look at what happened down the stretch, when especially in week 18, all you have to do is beat the Jaguars and you're in. and they just completely laid an egg. And Irsay lost his mind, probably understandably, and they couldn't get him out of there quick enough. But I'll remind you of this, even as recently as last year, through about the first 2/3 of the season, we were all talking about how well Carson Wentz was playing until he just fell off the table.
Yeah, good point. If he has any sense, he's really been rededicating himself to improve his game in this offseason. Finally, Paul, I would be remiss if we did not talk about the Houston Astros 10-game win streak. We've talked about the Astros with you before. They started the season 4-1. They went into a slump. They lost Altuve, but on this 10-game win streak, a couple of things. Jeremy Pena looking very good. Justin Verlander back from his injury. He's looking amazing. The longest win streak in baseball this year is 11 by the New York Yankees. If Friday the 13th doesn't jinx the Astros today as they travel to Washington to take on the Nationals, they could equal that 11-game win streak. How you feeling about the Houston Astros?
I'm excited, and I admit this, I'm checking like box scores and stuff like that a lot more closely than I have in a long time. And Chris, the remarkable thing about this 10-game winning streak, one of the big questions the Astros fans had coming into the year is, is the starting pitching going to hold up? Hold up. It's been historically dominant. They won 10 in a row. Chris, 5 of those wins have been shutouts. And in those 10 victories, they've given up a total of 11 runs.
Wow. And you look at not only the pitching, but, Springer moves on, Carlos Correa moves on. You think about all the salary they've saved, and theoretically, if they want to go get a guy before the trade deadline to add to this roster, they can. Coach A, Paul Alexander, a week from today, will be in this studio doing the show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Paul, we talk about your website. I highly recommend your website. So many things to explore daily at radicallyrational.com. For anybody who has yet to experience radicallyrational.com, tell us what we'll find there.
Have a little fun. Take the stuff seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't be afraid to break some eggs, to make some omelets. And, like you, Chris, you have such a wide variety of interests. And I do too, almost to the point where I have a deficient attention span, but there are a lot of things that I'm interested in. And astronomy is one of them. And it was so exciting yesterday when that deep space telescope captured the black hole at the center of the GOP. Now, Einstein said it was there, but this is the first time we've had visual confirmation.
Just a little hint, just a little preview of what you might find at radicallyrational.com. Coach A, Paul Alexander, always outstanding, and a thank you in advance. A week from today and a week from this coming Monday, you will be in this studio. I can't thank you enough, and it's always when I'm out, when you're in, I got to listen to the show because it's always outstanding when you're on board. Thanks so much, Paul. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, and enjoy that music. You're going to see some good shows.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. Coach A, Paul Alexander. Yeah, a week from tonight, I will be at the brand new Moody Center seeing the Eagles, and then two nights later at the Moody Theater, which is a different venue in Austin. It is Daryl Hall and Todd Rundgren. So, yeah, I'm going to dive into the music beginning a week from tonight. Coming up, we're going to dive into Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We'll bring you sports history, sports birthdays, and at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame as we dive into the National Football League as God intended on this day after the NFL schedules have dropped. And James also has some breaking news from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They have made a former NFL great an official ambassador for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's kind of a new deal. And James Allen will walk us through that as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, about to break down the shakedown for you moments from now. Jeremy Kolok loves basketball on Christmas. He's your Soundscape Stylist. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Little sympathy for the devil. Wow. Mr. Jeremy Kolok is all over it, as always. Okay. I have to edit 3 spots. Luckily, I don't have to record 3 spots, or you'd have to listen to that. You don't want to listen to that. I tried to earlier show the Stephen A. Smith video, Cowboys. It was a Cowboys video featuring Stephen A. Smith, believe it or not, for the schedule drop. And I had some technical issues. So I got to work on that. There's supposed to be a way that you can share the screen, and it didn't work out exactly. Okay, now I got to do this. Okay, this is Diamonds Direct. Don't do that. All right, there's one. Okay, this is the week of, where's my copy? This is the week of the 18th. So let's do this. Okay, there's one. File, save as.
Or a simple spritz. Bugs near your kids and pets? Will it be ingredients you can't pronounce?
One more.
Or a simple
Oh, and there was something I needed to look up here. What was it?
Not your family.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm good. Okay.
Biological systems, so Zevo kills bugs. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people friendly. Bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
Wow, why is that one so long? All right, we'll work with this. Spot's supposed to be a minute long, and it's 1:03. It's too long. So I have to cut out breaths. Sometimes you'll hear a radio commercial, and somebody's talking a mile a minute, and they're not breathing because they probably cut the breaths out of the commercial.
Kingsford's signature flavors are made with 100% natural hardwood and 100% real spices to add a whole new rich, full-bodied flavor and aroma.
All right. There it is.
Flavors hardwood pellets. Flavor you can see, smell, and taste.
This
Kingsford.com.
is. Whoa. Okay, now I got to just email these. This goes to. All right. Let's see. Wes, I was in between 9-8 and 10-7. I think I'm going to go 10-7. I'll make that official. 10-7. And let's see. I think Shannon was 11-6. Although I don't think she said that on the air yet. We'll have to do that. And what did Jeremy have? I have his here somewhere. Let's see. Jeremy, what was your Cowboys record? Somebody's asking. I think you were 12-5 or 11-6.
Yeah, I said 12-5 or 11-6 to be safe, so I'll go 11-6.
Okay, and we'll say those on the air. Shannon's got 11-6, and I've got 10-7. All right. So there you have it. Here we go. Woo! Nice.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Sparks fly from the flame.
This is a brilliant choice by Jeremy Kolok for two reasons. That's the Eagles. Witchy Woman. A, I was just talking about the Eagles, so it's kind of a callback. B, it's Friday the 13th. So if you're going to pick an Eagles song to play on Friday the 13th, you pick Witchy Woman. Wow. Jeremy Kolok, ladies and gentlemen.
So it's not about me then.
Say again?
So it's not about me then.
No, Jeremy,
Okay.
you're not talking about Shannon, are you? We got to find out. And by the way, yesterday on this show, Don Harris, citing that he is a regular listener to the Salty Shakedown, and he said that yesterday's Salty Shakedown had extra sodium. We gotta eventually find out. There's got to be songs with salt in them or salty. There's got to be salty songs. I can't think of any off the top of my head. There have to be.
But they're
You
rap
can.
songs, and they're usually about shaking a particular part of your body, like a salt shaker,
Wow. Okay.
and
All
other
right.
forms of that being used. So
Yeah. It ain't easy being a pimp these days. Was that the name of that song yesterday? I still got to go find that song. All right. Well, we'll work on that. We will work on that. Happy Friday the 13th, the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Her next installment of the Salty Shakedown is moments away. Will this one have extra sodium? We're about to find out. We're talking a lot of NFL football today, as God intended. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame going to join us just after 8 o'clock. I love talking all things, including football, with James Allen. We will dive into the NBA playoffs. We had a team eliminated last night, but Shannon, your Dallas Mavericks, they force a seventh game with the Phoenix Suns. Are you willing to be open to believe that maybe they can shock the world in Phoenix and take this series?
Chris, I don't know what you're talking about. I have been team MFFL for the entire ride through this playoffs. I knew it from the beginning that this series would go to 7 against the Suns. I mean, you hold Chris Paul and Devin Booker to under 20. You dominate and force almost triple the turnovers and score 29 off of said turnovers compared to the 7, I believe, that the Suns got. Of course, you're going to, when you have a defensive performance like that and match it with a great offensive performance, obviously they're destined to go to the next round.
See, and if you've been listening to the show, Shannon all along has been telling you that the Mavericks would beat the Suns in this series. You would have already known this was coming. By the way, before we go to the Salty Shakedown, sports history and sports birthdays, Jason Paniagua reminding us that Jimmy Buffett's song Margaritaville has a line, wasting away again in Margaritaville, searching for my lost shaker of salt. Boom! Totally forgot about that one. Jason Paniagua with the we will award you a special gift of Morton's salt. Jason, we need a salt sponsor for the Salty Shakedown. There should be, I mean, where's our sales department with all these absolutely obvious ideas?
Oh. Well, my sales department's on a boat today, if that's what you're wondering.
Are they really?
Yeah, there's a boat party that they did invite us low life DJs to.
So, well, and they do
I'm out of
it when
town,
you're in
so.
Houston. You're in Houston, and they're on a boat. What on Lake Travis?
They didn't consult the dates with me though. So
exactly. So that should be their first move. All right, Salty Shakedown in a moment. Let's get this party started with some sports birthdays and this day in sports history. May 13th, 1955, Mickey Mantle hits 3 consecutive home runs in 3 at-bats, and all of them go a minimum of 463 feet over the wall. This day in 1958, Stan Musial, St. Louis Cardinal, is the 8th baseball player to get 3,000 hits. On this day in 1976, it was the end of the 9th and final ABA championship as Dr. J and the New York Nets beat the Denver Nuggets 4-2, and the last man to touch the red, white, and blue ABA ball on a rebound and a putback is my favorite Spur ever. Number 33, Rich Jones, an original San Antonio Spur who was traded to the New York Nets. I've always wanted to see Rich Jones again. Last I heard, Kobe Dietrich told me he was a bouncer in Las Vegas. Someday I'm going to Vegas and I'm going to find Rich Jones. Finally, on this day in 2007, the PGA Players Championship, TPC at Sawgrass, your winner, Phil Mickelson, by 2 strokes over runner-up Sergio Garcia of Spain. The event was played in May for the first time ever. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1914, one of the greatest heavyweight champions ever. He was the world heavyweight champion for 12 years, from 1937 to 1949. Joe Louis was born in Lafayette, Alabama. George Lewis passed away in 1981. Born on this day in 1961, one of the weirdest NBA players ever. Who am I kidding? The weirdest NBA player ever, Dennis Rodman. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey. Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, and a stint in San Antonio when he dated Madonna. Dennis Rodman was born in Trenton, New Jersey. Finally, born on this day in 1978. Very, very outstanding baseball pitcher for the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants, Barry Zito. Barry Zito was born in Las Vegas, Nevada. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, it's time for your Friday the 13th Salty Shakedown.
Chris, I'm really big into racing right now, coming off the Kentucky Derby and spending a couple weeks here in Houston. I do have on my agenda some turtle racing that I'd like to attend, but that is in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm still all about the Kentucky Derby news, and we talked yesterday about Sonny Leone, the jockey for the winning horse, Rich Strike, serving a 5-day suspension this week for careless riding. Well, we now know with more news from Rich Strike and company that the horse will not be racing in the Preakness that takes place on May 21st, which means there will be no Triple Crown winner this year. Now, what's kind of interesting about this, as we know, Rich Strike was a last-minute replacement in the Kentucky Derby field. And once that happened, they kind of thought, well, our odds aren't great. We don't want to overrun the horse anyway. Right. So our chance of a Triple Crown, there's not going to even be one. So why risk the horse an injury in running the Preakness? So that's what their thoughts were prior to winning the Kentucky Derby. Then they won, and then they had to kind of think about it. Do we want to try and go for the Triple Crown, or are we going to put our horse's best interests first? And it was kind of interesting if you were following along on social media yesterday, because the thought was, we want you to treat the horses with kindness, but wait, no, not that, because we want to see a Triple Crown. Ultimately, the Rich Strike team has decided to rest the horse. It will be running in the Belmont Stakes later in June, but we won't get a Triple Crown winner this year. I think it's great for the horse, but maybe not the best for the sport overall. That's how I see it, Chris. What about you?
Yes, but I'm disappointed. If there's any way Rich Strike could have run, I mean, you don't get a lot of opportunities in life for absolute greatness. And I know, he probably wasn't going to do it again, but I think you take your shot. I mean, I wouldn't risk the horse's life. But I mean, and I know rest was a big deal, but A, I'm disappointed. And B, if there's any way Rich Strike could have run this race, I think they do. I wonder, Shannon, conspiracy theory. I mean, looking for like future like stud fees and all that. I wonder if, here's a historic horse. If you don't run him, then there's always that question, well, could he have done it? And here's the greatest Kentucky Derby ever. I wonder in the long run if this is an economic choice, if they think, well, he's not going to win again. That was just once in a lifetime. So let's not run him again. And let's just, make more money off this horse down the line.
I like the theory. Something to keep an eye on. I'm sure that'll be a story as we creep closer to the Preakness. All right. Second story today. As we know, the Texas Fight Tour is going on, and another announcement from Chris Del Conte, kind of confirming what a lot of people suspected, that the Longhorn Network will come to an end when the school makes the jump to the SEC. The SEC, of course, has their own network, so they will be displayed on that channel. But I think a lot of people were taken back when Chris Del Conte referred to the network as the History Channel, which myself and some other news and sports writers in the area have been referring to that channel as a long time, right? Because you turn it on and it's the greatness of years past, and especially in the football realm. Now, Chris Del Conte did take to Twitter to kind of say, I meant that in a good way. It's great for recruiting. It's great to show the history of our school, but we are ready for the next thing ahead, and where that is moving to the SEC. Now, I'm just curious about your thoughts of LHN as a whole, right? Because it came, the idea of it and the inception came at a time when Texas was the hottest thing ever in nearly every single sport. But then there was this giant slump, and it just never kind of came to fruition, I think, of what they thought it could ultimately be. So your thoughts on saying goodbye to LHN?
It's an amazing thing that Texas has. It's a great asset, and you're right. Football wise, things kind of went south after it happened. So and it's hilarious that you guys have called it the History Channel, that Chris Del Conte recognizes that and said it. For me, Shannon, one of my worst nightmares as a sports fan ever was Vince Young tearing the hearts out of me and my USC Trojans in the national championship game in Pasadena. It seems like every other time I turn on the Longhorn Network, that game is on. So to your point, History Channel, they love playing that game. And I take it personally. I think they do it just to make my life a living hell, because it's all about me. But I think it's still an asset for the Longhorns. And if you got an asset, I think you should exploit and maintain your asset.
Yeah, LHN and ESPN property. So it'll be interesting to see, now that we have ESPN Plus and all of that network, if some of those things like that Rose Bowl game will be available on demand to those who subscribe, but we'll just have to wait and see. Finally, Winning Time. We've been talking about it a lot. The season finale aired last Sunday, and we've talked a lot about, the discourse between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, how kind of surprised we are with how much of a jerk Larry Bird is. Well, we are in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and we knew we were getting some redesigned trophies, but they've also introduced awards for the Eastern Conference as well as the Western Conference MVP. And on the Western Conference, it'll be the Magic Johnson Trophy. And for the Eastern Conference, it'll be the Larry Bird Trophy. And Larry was made aware of this in a conversation with Deputy League Commissioner Mark Tatum. We've got that conversation for you right here.
From this day forward, the trophies that are going to be awarded to the MVPs of the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, in the East, it'll be called the Larry Bird Trophy. And in the West, we'll get the Magic Johnson Trophy. Wow. So we wanted to let you all know that, and it's something that I hope you find special, but from this day forward, those conference finals MVPs will be known as the Larry Bird Trophy and the Magic Johnson Trophy.
Thanks, Mark. I just wish I could win one of them Magic Johnson trophies. That'd be a highlight of my career.
Larry Bird wanting himself a Magic Johnson Trophy. Now, as we know, there's been a lot of upset people who have been portrayed in Winning Time, but we haven't heard anything from Larry Bird. But obviously, I think he knows about it because this comment very much screams he's been paying attention. He understands that this rivalry has kind of been renewed in a different light. So for him to make that comment, I think was very self-aware and very funny. What your thoughts on that, Chris?
Brilliant. I think, people who know their NBA history know that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and again, another reason to watch Winning Time, you see the beginning of this, they rejuvenated and took the NBA to another level. The NBA was kind of floundering before the Larry Bird Magic Johnson rivalry began, and then it went to the stratosphere. So even though, yes, Larry Bird has been a jerk much of his life, it's the right thing to do. And I don't know how Larry Bird's been lately. Maybe he's a better man. We all grow. So he a little self-deprecating, having a little fun there, maybe poking fun at himself and the rivalry. So it's all good, I think. And good on Larry Bird for at least having a sense of humor, something we don't see in Winning Time.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the trophies in general? The redesigns, the additions? Is that the NBA trying to, kind of do the Hollywood thing of just giving themselves more accolades?
I think so. Yeah. And again, kind of taking a page from the NFL, the more you can make news doing what you do, just like the NFL did last night with its schedule drop, to make more news with these trophies, to redesign them, to bring out Larry Bird, to bring out Magic Johnson, especially they got to love on the heels of Winning Time and all of its ratings. I mean, even that plays into this, I think, and that's good news for the NBA.
Yeah, you got to love it. The generation of everyone gets a trophy, and we're adding more trophies so that your shot becomes greater, but trophies do turn into stars if they take that note out of Hollywood. So there it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Wow, outstanding Salty Shakedown as always. I got to believe that would be Don Harris approved as well. But again, Shannon, your very first item, to not have a shot at a Triple Crown. I mean, to me, that takes the luster off the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes. I mean, and I got to believe those races as well, because it's almost like when Tiger Woods doesn't play in a golf tournament, casual fans like me don't watch as much. I think fans, I think they would have had so many more fans if Rich Strike would have ran at least one more race.
Yeah, because these two races don't have the same, I think, notoriety as a Kentucky Derby, and they kind of fall off as the Triple Crown chances diminish. It'll be interesting to see if our good friend Mattress Mac decides to throw down once again for this next race.
Good question. We'll keep an eye on Mattress Mac. And coming up, James Allen, board member on the selection committee of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, his thoughts on the NFL schedule. And he's got the latest news from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as they have named a former playing great, an ambassador from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll get into that and more on the Chris Duel Show. Okay. So, Dean Stone, you say you like the Cowboys, but not in week 17. That's when they play Washington. You telling us you're a Washington fan with that? What's up with that? By the way, I brought this up before about Larry Bird. Larry Bird had a daughter that he never recognized. It was his daughter. Her real name is Corey Bird. Corey Bird was born to Larry and Janet. They were both young. They tied the knot in 1976. Soon after, they conceived a child, Corey, who was born on August 14th, 1977. By the time Corey was born, the parents had already divorced after having been married a year. She was raised in a single-parent household because Larry refused to take any parental responsibility. Here she was growing up, watching her dad on television, and her dad would never see her, would never recognize her, would never take any parental responsibility. What a guy that Larry Bird is. Good man, Larry, and what a dad you are, sir. I'm just saying. All right. Titans. Okay, there you go. I was wondering what you were getting at, Dean. All right. So Mike Taylor, for your viewing pleasure, as I'm going to go get some more Ice Baby for my Ice tea. Woo! 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 Back in a flash.
Dig your vinyl, man. My budget doesn't. Call time when you're collecting. Don't give it up. State Farm has options to get you a surprisingly great rate. Rock on. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to State Farm.
From the moment you open the bag, through the low and slow grid, to the very last bite of food, new Kingsford Signature Flavors hardwood pellets tantalize your senses. Kingsford Signature Flavors are made with 100% natural hardwood and 100% real spices to add a whole new rich, full-bodied flavor and aroma to your cookout. New Kingsford Signature Flavors hardwood pellets. Flavor you can see, smell, and taste. Kingsford.com.
Thank you, Mike Taylor. James Allen, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. James Allen bidding all of you a good morning. James Allen with his walk-up music request. You got that? Okay, thank you. So I guess crossfade, after dude says now Chris Duel, just crossfade into that. Thank you, sir. You find my James Allen photo. There he is. James Allen, ladies and gentlemen, joining us next. His son on the front of the sports page. See if this thing will let me. I tried to share my screen earlier and it wouldn't let me. I don't know what's. I got to figure out this feature. I'll try it one more time real quick. But here's one more attempt at sharing my screen. Okay. Share screen. Share screen. All right. Okay, now there's that. Now how do I do that? I don't get it. It's not working at the moment. I'm going to figure this out someday. Okay, I got it for a second. What's going on? Okay, now it's just totally freaking out. I'm trying to show you the photo of James Allen's son. What if I do this? That was my attempt at showing you James Allen's son on the screen. Let's try it one more time. Would be James Allen Jr. All right. Now I got to get back to normal. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's get James Allen up here. Microphones are on. There's James Allen. All right. Woo! I now have plenty of ice in my iced tea. Ice, ice, baby. Or maybe we use James Allen with Jerry Jones. Here we go. James Allen, ladies and gentlemen, about to join us for your viewing and listening pleasure. 8 o'clock hour. Woo!
It's the Chris Duel Show.
You know that, Jake? Break on to the other side. Break on to the other side.
Now, Chris Duel.
Gotta like it. Hoi! Hoi! Second week in a row. James Allen coming on board this show with the Vicente Fernandez, the late, great Vicente Fernandez. Welcome in to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney on this Friday, the 13th of May. We hope you have good luck on this Friday, the 13th. I wonder if James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame has any superstitions or sports superstitions. Let's welcome him in, our good friend, not only on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, also on the selection committee, but that's not nearly as impressive as the fact that he has his own taco named after him at Fuego, or Fuegos, whichever way you want to call it, originally out of College Station, Texas, his alma mater, Texas A&M. Now they've got a location near UTSA. James Allen, happy Friday the 13th.
Good morning. I didn't even know it was Friday the 13th until right now.
Hope.
So, yes, good morning.
James, I got to ask you, when you played football, did you have any superstitions but before a game, any rituals, any superstitions of any kind as a player?
I had routines, and one of them is a little gross. I won't mention it, but I'd always be very nervous. Let's just say I would go to the trash can. Every game.
I
had a weird thing about socks and my shoelaces. It's kind of a crazy deal. It's just kind of a routine. I don't know why. It wasn't really a superstition. It wasn't like my favorite underwear or stuff like a lot of people do, or have to have a certain shirt underneath. But mine was like the socks, the shoelaces, and then I did my ritual before every game, which I don't really want to talk about, but that's it.
I get you, James. I get you. I get where you're going with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
James, let's start with the big news, the schedule drop for the NFL, and looking at the Dallas Cowboys. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And what games do you have circled on your calendar, besides all of them?
Well, I think, Commissioner Goodell's a marketing genius. No offense to Rozelle and Tagliabue before him, but I love that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are right out of the box going to the Rams versus Bills. I mean, Russell Wilson. And I like the week. I guess I like the Cowboys. I want to see how the Giants are going to do. But the ones I have circled, I really liked Russell Wilson going back to Denver on Monday Night Football. Some people call it the revenge game amongst the circles, which I find that's not kind of Russell's personality. I love the triple decker on Thanksgiving Day and a triple decker on Christmas Day. That's what the fans want during those holidays. And I love the NFL put 3 games versus the Giants versus Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day.
Going to bring you in and bring up Christmas again.
I'm going to watch that one. I like the Rams 49ers, and I like the Raiders versus the Chiefs with Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill in Week 5. So there's some great stuff. But yeah, Week 1 right out of the box. I mean, Rams versus Bills, Steelers versus Bengals, Seahawks versus Broncos, and Raiders versus Chargers, and the Buccaneers versus the Cowboys. Those are great. That's a great leadoff. So I think Week 1, I have all those games circled, and except for the Chiefs versus Cardinals. And I'm really excited about the triple decker on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. And I think they did a great job. I could always find something wrong, but I think they're giving the fans what the fans want. And
I like it.
James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James, speaking of finding something wrong, the man who played your Vicente Fernandez walk-up music, our soundscape stylist and chief meteorologist, Jeremy Kolok, has found something wrong with the NFL schedule. He does not like the fact that the NFL will be playing football on Christmas Day. Jeremy believes that day should be reserved for NBA basketball. James, if you would address Jeremy and maybe you can talk some sense into him, or do you agree with Jeremy that Christmas should belong to the National Basketball Association?
Well, Jeremy's probably the nicest guys I've ever met, so I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I would say this on a more obtuse level. I wish they wouldn't play any sports on Christmas Day, just for the players and their families, whether it's a spiritual reason or holiday reason. I wish the athletes could be home instead of worried about playing some sport. However, if they're going to play sports, Jeremy, the NFL, if you take the top 40 TV stations or 45, 33 of them are going to be NFL games. And, it's just that's what the people want. NFL has better ratings than baseball, basketball, and hockey combined. So, sorry, Jeremy, it's what the people want. So I love you, brother, and I get what you're saying, but the masses want to see the NFL.
Well, I love you too, James. I appreciate that. But that's what scares me. I'm broadcasting to you from a perspective of fear because I know the NFL's power, and I feel like it's just a slippery slope. And for me, I love the NFL. I really do. I'm not trying to. I didn't know this would be the hill that I'd die on here on NBA on Christmas Day, but the NBA season begins for me on Christmas Day, and that's the day where I really start paying attention. They have great matchups, and just from a perspective of fear here, I know that the NBA cannot compete with the NFL, the top dog, when it comes to rating. So that's all it is here. I'm a realist, and I'm scared as an NBA fan on Christmas Day.
I think the scare part is a great reality. I mean, look, Jeremy, without over pontificating this, look at Major League Baseball. It's called America's Game. It hasn't been America's Game for a long time. And you're right. The behemoth is the NFL has taken over, and look at all the deals they're signing with all the streaming services and Amazon and all the different outlets. You're right. It's I can understand your fear, but unfortunately, the Huns are at the gate, and the walls are coming down. And welcome to America. So, that's all I got for you, brother.
James, you talk about, wishing that those athletes and their families could have a day off on holidays like Christmas. And, the teams have gotten really creative with how they release schedules. The Seattle Seahawks actually punked some of their players by telling them that they were going to be playing on Thanksgiving. And some of the players really upset that they were going to have to play on that holiday, that they were going to have to work, which was pretty interesting, especially from a Dallas Cowboys fan's perspective. And then the Dallas Cowboys added Stephen A. Smith to their lineup. They used Post Malone last year, and then Stephen A. Smith and Jerry Jones were part of the release video. Your thoughts on them using Stephen A. Smith, given his history with the Dallas Cowboys and what he's had to say in the past, and then your thoughts on your buddy Jerry Jones. He's in a lot of commercials. He does a lot of things like this. Is he Oscar worthy? Do you like his acting skills?
Jerry is. I will tell you, I don't know about Oscar worthy, but Jerry could definitely win a People's Choice Awards. Meeting with him in person, he's the same guy you see on TV. He's always on. There's nothing he can't talk about and convince you. Like I always tell people, I always kid him, don't look in his eyes because you'll buy what he's selling. He is really good at that. Obviously, not to be a passive aggressive shot, but he does more in a year than all the owners combined on stuff. He's just that guy, and he relishes the spotlight, but he's good in the spotlight, right? So. That's his thing. So I think he's doing awesome on that. As far as Stephen A. Smith, Jerry's, always trying to make friends and to bring people over to his side. So I think there's kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of trying to see if they can do that with Stephen A. Smith, which is good luck with that. I can say that.
He is James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James, we have some breaking news in the world of sports. It's not NFL related, but it's a pretty big deal. Shannon has this breaking news. Jeremy, give us a little breaking news sounder and we'll find out what's going on.
Red alert, ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed an urgent news story. Stop what you're doing and listen.
Brittany Griner this morning appeared in a Moscow court for hearing on whether her detention would be extended, and the ruling is that her detention has been extended for 30 days, and the request for house arrest was also denied. This continues on for Brittany Griner. Her wife was actually in attendance at a Phoenix game just 2 days ago, where she received a standing ovation, and she just graduated from law school. So a lot that Brittany Griner is missing as the WNBA season gets underway, but she has been extended now another 30 days in Russia.
That is not good news for Brittany Griner and for fans, and it's just an awful thing for her. James Allen, we've been talking about Brittany Griner, WNBA player out of Baylor, arguably one of the top 3 or 5. You could rate her at number 1, 2, or 3, actually. Certainly top 5 in the WNBA. As we know, she's been incarcerated in Russia, where she was playing basketball in the offseason for a Russian team. At an airport, she had vaping material that had like THC, cannabis-based, or hash. I think it was known as hash, actually. So they arrest her in Russia as this war is breaking out. Not a war, an invasion and atrocities committed by Russia. She is incarcerated, and what I've been saying all along, James Allen, if it was one of the top 5 players in the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball or the National Hockey League or MLS soccer or international soccer, I think we'd be talking about this story every single day across all media platforms, but it doesn't get a lot of run. I think it should. Your thoughts on this news that Russia now denies Brittany Griner's request not only to be released, but to be detained in house arrest instead of a jail cell. It's pretty awful for an American citizen in Russia to be going through this. James, your thoughts?
There's no question that if she was, a Peyton Manning, if you will, or somebody like that, it would be getting news every day. There would be more calls for the president to do something. We saw something like this with Jimmy Carter. Remember, who was a great guy, by the way. I love Jimmy Carter, one of the best spiritual presidents. He's just an amazing guy. But he let hostages go for 400 or 500 days, and it's tough to be a president. I know that Biden's battling a lot of different things, especially with his health. But you're right. At the end of the day, if this was a Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo or something like that on the international stage, I think it would be a lot of people calling to the United States to say, listen, sit down with Russia and make a deal or release prisoners. And they've done this before, swap out stuff. But and on top of her situation, obviously having a war going on, it's not helping her for political collateral. So it's a tough situation for her and her life. Her life.
James, other big news out of your world in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You actually sent Chris and I the press release, which we were so thankful to have that sort of connection. Anthony Munoz named the first ever Chief Football Relationship Officer. Tell us about that role and why Anthony Munoz was chosen.
We were looking at different avenues, and I had to keep quiet about it. We've known about this for last week. Anthony, for example, I hosted a Hall of Fame thing at the JW Marriott here privately. No press was allowed. We had Steve Large. We had Mean Joe Green. It was a big fundraiser, and a lot of the local people. They had Sierras, and all the other people showed up.
Yeah, James, Shannon and I missed that invite. That must have gotten lost in our spam file or something. We missed the invite to that, man.
I'm sorry about that, but the next one I throw, I promise. But so Anthony does the speaking. A lot of the Hall of Famers, you have certain Hall of Famers like Roger Staubach was a great liaison between the old and the new. Before that, you had I just dropped it. The guy from the Bears, Brian song.
Gale Sayers. Yep.
Gale Sayers did a lot of stuff along with Nishke from the Packers. And so he's kind of been handed that torch by the Hall of Famers. And not only he's also on the board of the Hall of Fame along with Warren Moon. And of course, Jerry Jones are the only three that actually are Hall of Famers and on the board. And he's just that guy. He does a lot of stuff with the military. Up until recently, he'd come out of San Antonio for the Army game. He's just very well loved by all the Gold Jackets and all the people. So the Hall of Famers are really coming out. You know, you see the quotes from Steve Largent and Warren Moon and so many more. He is going to start putting the Hall of Famers out front in front of people and shine the light on them even further, on top of shining it at the Hall of Fame. And that's his role. And I can tell you that Anthony, every time there's something to be done, Anthony's the first to volunteer and help out. And of course, fight on.
Yes. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, James Allen. When the decision was made to make Anthony Munoz a Pro Football Hall of Fame ambassador, how much did it weigh in, the fact that he is a USC Trojan alum, following in the footsteps of George Lucas, Will Ferrell, Jeannie Buss, O.J. Simpson? I mean, did when you guys got together, did you say, hey, man, what this job needs is a USC Trojan in this role?
Well, there's no question the USC, notwithstanding that list that you gave with to football, USC, I know obviously when they got the death penalty a while back, so Reggie.
Thank you, Reggie. Yep.
Yeah, it kind of offset things. But before that, obviously USC is that team. They have a ton of Hall of Famers in there and known for that. However, that didn't, it's a great fight on, tons of Hall of Famers from USC, but unfortunately that one didn't really register. But obviously Anthony says his character was built at USC, so there you go.
Very, very cool. And again, James, you know, you have this big event in San Antonio. Anthony Munoz is there. April Ansira is there. Robin Ansira, Ernesto Ansira, a veritable who's who of San Antonio dignitaries, probably Mayor Ron Nierenberg, probably Don Harris of News 4 San Antonio. And, you know, Shannon and I are just sitting at home watching Netflix. Just, you know, I'm just saying, not that I'm bitter or anything, you know.
4 years ago.
I thought it was like, you know, 4 weeks ago. I didn't know it was 4 years ago.
I would have had you, just like the Hall of Fame stuff, I would have had you there for sure.
All right, just say, not that I'm.
I want to see if we get my son on the radio after the state meet, if there's a possibility.
Oh my God! Speaking of whom, I know you're about to say it, but I'll say it because I saw it. Banner front page of the San Antonio Express News. I mean, huge photo. Your son, James Allen, winning the district shot put championship. And one of the coolest photos, my God, you guys have to enlarge that and frame it, of your son in his Churchill gear launching a shot put into the heavens at the UIL state track and field meet. Talk a little bit about your son.
Well, it's just, you know, I think I love that he didn't tell me. You know, and Churchill's doing a pep rally for him today, just for him.
Wow.
Peters, Tesla, the band, everything. He doesn't tell me this stuff. And I love that about him. He's very humble. I didn't get a phone call until late afternoon yesterday, and somebody said, have you seen the Express News? And I went, no, I haven't. They said, you know, it's kind of like your listeners told me about Fuegos de San Antonio. I didn't know. And then, you know, so I literally pull into a convenience store, go to the paper, and then I see this huge picture of my son. So I really admire his character. He's very humble. It's sincere. You know, there's as one, the founder or the guy that helped put the Alamo Bowl here, the head of Builder Square, Frank Santicella, texted me and says, well, another man's dusk is another man's dawn. So it's over for you, buddy. There's a new sheriff degree. So I'm very proud of him. As you know, his two grandfathers, your good friend Jimmy Parks, was actually the first all-district athlete in Churchill's history.
Yeah.
And if you remember, it was all city, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And then his other grandfather, my father, which is now the Pan Am Games, went to the Border Olympics, and my dad was, you know, didn't have any money and had no father, and he ran barefoot. So
wow,
quite a lineage. And as I know, Jimmy is doing cartwheels up there in heaven, and I know that my father is just, you know, was crying, and he never cries at the meet. And I'll tell you, there's a story my son told me on the way to his A&M visit, which I did not know, about how he was motivated seeing my father, who's in very bad health, watching him throw. But it's a very magical moment. And the whole thing has been just a lot of magical stories behind the scenes. But I appreciate you guys edifying and the listeners, James Allen. And I'm excited about his pep rally today, and I appreciate the coaches doing that.
Wow. A pep rally at Churchill High School for one dude, James Allen Jr. That is so cool. I just want to underscore here, and we're kind of up against it here at the bottom of the hour, but you mentioned one of his grandfathers, not only your dad, who is amazing, and what a great story about him and his athletic endeavors and having to run barefoot to do that back in the day. But I know certainly our San Antonio listeners, his other grandfather, Jimmy Parks Jr., who sadly passed away just over a decade ago. Jimmy Parks Jr. was a prolific attorney in San Antonio. As you mentioned, a prolific athlete, the first ever all-city athlete in the first class ever at Churchill High School. And Jimmy was a friend of mine and one of the best men I've ever met in my life. And I think about him pretty much daily. So I just want to, you mentioned his name, and I know some people who knew him in San Antonio might be listening. Whoa. Jimmy Parks is James Allen's son's grandfather, yes, and which is remarkable. So, James Allen, we're running out of time here, but we will pick this up again next week. And again, congratulations to your son, James Allen Jr., just doing amazing things in the world of track and field. Just recently committed to Texas A&M. James Allen, as always, outstanding stuff, man. Thanks for joining us on this Friday the 13th.
Thank you. Shout out to Mom and Dad, and good luck to James at State, and y'all have a great weekend. All
right. Thanks so much. Wow. Shannon Salty Sweeney, how many kids get a pep rally for themselves? It's usually the football team, the volleyball team, the base. His James Allen Jr. today, a pep rally for him at Churchill High School. That's pretty amazing.
I think we've been talking to the wrong James this whole time.
Exactly. Maybe that other James Allen would invite us to some swanky VIP football event. See, when you heard him say that
ago,
did it sound like it was recent? It sounded to me like it was recent. That's why I said
recent. But he mentioned no media, and technically we are media, so I was like, okay, I guess.
But we're above that whole media. I mean, yes, technically we're media.
We're no Adam Schefters. We're
exactly
not evil, using it for our gain kind of media.
Yeah, when we go, see, if you were Adam Schefter on that Brittany Griner story, you would go, Brittany Griner, who had 17 technical fouls last year in the WNBA, received some bad news. Schefter would have added some stupid stuff to that. So, yeah, I'm just saying. All right. Thank you, Juice. Coming up, we got to talk more. We haven't talked a lot of NBA playoffs. We'll touch upon the NBA playoffs as we roll forward. Of course, we talk a lot of football. It's a big day on this Friday the 13th. The NFL schedules have dropped. And again, Shannon with that breaking news moments ago, Brittany Griner denied her incarceration extended at least another 30 days in Russia. They refused her appeal for house arrest. Russia really continuing to be hardcore with its incarceration of WNBA superstar Brittany Griner. A lot more coming at you in the final half hour. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok makes the show go. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. James Allen, if you're in here, outstanding as always. My goodness. Just amazing. Let me check my Twitter real quick, and then I got to check something else. All right. I love the pep rally story, James, if you're in here. My God. His own pep rally. That's great. That is wild. All right, let me see here. Oh, I know what I got to check.
Really never smelled so good.
Get that.
Introducing
Get that.
new Kingsford Signature Flavors. Made with 100% real spices. Kingsford Signature Flavors flavor boosters can be added to any pre-lit charcoal or bought pre-mixed with Kingsford charcoal briquettes to add a whole new rich,
That scent.
flavor and aroma to your cookout. For flavor you can see, smell, and taste, new Kingsford Signature Flavors. Kingsford.com.
Okay, good. All right, I'm good. Rudy Campos, good morning. Thank you, James Allen. You rock, man. Here's a photo of James Allen and his favorite fellow board member. Where'd that go? Now that I'm talking about it, there it is. James Allen and Jerry Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Oh, I know what I got to do.
You've got bugs. What's your move? A rattling can?
Ah!
Or a simple quiz? Bugs near your kids and pet? Will it be ingredients you can't pronounce? Or essential oils? Bother the bugs, not your family. Zevo uses essential oils, which tap bugs' biological systems, so Zevo kills bugs. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people friendly. I'm gonna trigger you.
So let's go. Woo! Okay. Tonight in the NBA, if my computer will cooperate, and there it goes. Boston at Milwaukee. 6:30. And then Memphis at Golden State. at 9. And Saturday, no games yet scheduled on Saturday. What about Sunday? Sunday, Mavs Suns. Sunday is Mavs Suns. Game 7 on Sunday, man. That'll be big. And Bucks Celtics game 7 if necessary. Okay. Cool. Amen. Louisa, free Brittany Griner. This is ridiculous. And I feel extra bad for her because Russia is a very white society, and they're known to be kind of racist. I know that's a generalization, but it happens there. So Brittany Griner is not only African American, she is openly gay, and they persecute LGBTQ people in Russia in a big way. So you just have to wonder those who are incarcerating her. I mean, the guards, the people she's dealing with daily. You just have to wonder how. And she's an American, right now, and you know the rhetoric and dogma out of the Kremlin and Putin is very anti-American at the moment during this invasion of Ukraine. So the conditions might be just absolutely awful for her right now. It's just horrible. And she's playing for a Russian team. Okay. Here we go. Thanks again, James Allen. Yeah.
Back, Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Rockwell, baby. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Rockwell was the nephew of Berry Gordy, who ran Motown, and singing background vocals on this song, one Michael Jackson. When Berry Gordy is your uncle and can give you a record deal, Berry Gordy can pick up the phone and say, MJ, and I don't mean Mac Jones, MJ, and I don't mean Michael Jordan. There he is. Michael Jackson in the background. Great song for Friday the 13th. Somebody will be watching you all day.
Now, Chris, that song, because Michael isn't like necessarily credited, right? It's not like so-and-so.
No, I don't think he's credited.
But it was one of like the first songs that became popular with a feature, even though it wasn't considered that at the time, right?
By you mean as far as like Michael Jackson featured on the song?
Well, I'm like, so collabs and all, you know, if you were to tune into Top 40, right, nearly every hit song is a collaboration of some point, though those weren't necessarily the way, right? I mean, it was the Beatles or the Eagles or Michael Jackson. It wasn't, you know, so-and-so featuring another artist.
There wasn't a lot of cross-pollination. You're right. I do know, like, Michael Jackson did a thing. No, it wasn't Michael Jackson. It was he did do a thing with Paul McCartney. I think it was called The Girl Is Mine. But Stevie Wonder, who Jeremy played earlier, Superstitions, did Ebony and Ivory with Paul McCartney, which was like a song about, you know, people of different colors getting together, Ebony and Ivory. So there were some. And what did Lionel Richie did Endless Love, but I think it was for a movie with Diana Ross. It wasn't common. And what's interesting, as you mentioned, Shannon, on this one, Rockwell, MTV was just blowing up at the time and was relatively young. So there was a video for this song by Rockwell. And you didn't see Michael Jackson in the video. And so a lot of people go, wow, that sounds a lot like Michael Jackson. It was, but he didn't. I don't think he was credited on that. So we digress, which we often do on this show. We've talked a lot of NFL today, Shannon and Jeremy, as we should. The day after the schedules drop, as God intended. But I do want to revisit here for a little bit what happened last night in the NBA. The Miami Heat eliminated the Philadelphia 76ers in Philly. Ouch. 99-90. They win that series 4-2. They await the winner of Milwaukee Bucks versus the Boston Celtics. Milwaukee is up 3-2 in that series. Milwaukee can close it out tonight in Milwaukee against Boston. But the big news last night, Shannon, we touched upon it briefly, but it's a big deal, I think. The Dallas Mavericks not only beat the Phoenix Suns in Dallas last night, they destroy them 113-86. Luka Doncic, 2 assists shy of a triple-double. Luka goes for 33 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. Shannon, your Dallas Mavericks will play a 1-game series on Sunday. They haven't figured out the start time yet, but Mavericks Suns in Game 7. There's nothing like a Game 7 in baseball, in hockey, or certainly in the NBA. That's going to be some must-see TV on Sunday.
It's super exciting, and I told y'all in the chat earlier, I really hope the Chris Paul killer, Scott Frost, ends up reffing that game. I mean, what a great storyline, and to have that continue. Forget that the Mavs might win Game 7 because they've put the pieces together. It would be because of Scott Frost, because last night the Mavericks, great on both ends of the floor. I mean, the turnover difference 22-7. So the Mavs had 29 points to the Suns 6 points off turnovers alone. I mean, defensively they were fantastic, and they were able to turn that great defensive play into offensive production on the other end of the floor. And when you're able to limit CP3 and Devin Booker to less than 20, you're going to have a good shot. So it was nice to see them put that great game together. I watched the start of that game. I think when I walked in, we were already down 5, so I went to bed. So I'm happy with the way it ended up turning out. And then, last night, the other game, the Heat closing out the 76ers. Obviously, James Harden didn't do what he set out to do when he finally made the jump to that roster. And he, just kind of disappeared in the second half, scoring a goose egg. 0 points for James Harden. Doc Rivers unhappy after the game. He could be on the coaching chopping block as the guy. That's why he got kicked out of the Clippers organization, right? He was bringing them to the playoffs, but then there was nothing. So that his job might be in jeopardy here. I don't know who they would get who would be better, but we'll see.
Yeah, Doc Rivers being mentioned, if he is fired from the Philadelphia 76ers, rumors out there that Jeannie Buss, Kurt Rambis, who advises her, and of course Phil Jackson, now Jeannie's former boyfriend, now an advisor to the Lakers as they search for a new head coach. They say that insiders say Doc Rivers would get on that list and get interviewed for that Lakers job. Jeremy Kolok, Shannon brought up Chris Paul. She's hoping that Scott Frost, the referee, who is a Chris Paul killer, will referee Game 7 Sunday between the Mavs and the Suns. But, Jeremy, I think Chris Paul's a big storyline. He turned 37 years old a week ago today, and one of his big stories is he's never won a championship. He'll go down like the mailman Karl Malone or John Stockton or Charles Barkley, these guys who were great careers, but didn't win a championship. How do you feel about a Game 7 on Sunday? It'll happen. Mavs versus Suns. Do you give the Mavericks any shot at winning on the Phoenix Suns home floor?
Yeah, I give the Mavs a shot. I think it's going to be interesting just from the standpoint of the Mavs have looked like a completely different team on the road versus at home. And I think you could say the same thing about the Suns. And the Suns certainly with the advantage having this Game 7 on their home floor. But it's interesting, Chris Paul, like you mentioned, Chris, is in that he's in that weird little realm where he could probably be considered by many to be one of the greatest point guards to ever play, but his career obviously doesn't have that championship ring to it. And I think, we just talked about James Harden, who is also kind of in that conversation, even though he's not as old as Chris Paul. And this would be disastrous for Chris Paul to lose this game, to not even get to the conference finals. Whereas if they win, it's not like he has much to gain because they still have to continue winning. They still have to beat the Warriors. He just has to get the job done. And I just want to mention real quick, because Shannon brought up James Harden, and was there any other way that was more fitting for this Philadelphia 76ers experiment of a season to end than James Harden scoring 0 points in the second half, which, if you remember last year, was the main issue with Ben Simmons. He didn't score any points in the second half of their elimination game. So then they get rid of him for James Harden, who surely that man will shoot the ball, right? Surely if there's anybody on planet Earth who is not afraid to take shots when you need someone to take shots to take the pressure off Joel Embiid, surely it's James Harden, right? I mean, a group of Hollywood writers, the top-notch Hollywood writers, could not have come up with that script.
And if they did come up with that script, Don Harris would take umbrage with how it was portrayed on the screen. We love you, Don Harris. By the way, I said Scott Frost. Tom is correcting me. It is Scott Foster is the referee, Shannon, who is the Chris Paul killer. So Scott Foster. Thank you, Tom, for the correction. Shannon, Jeremy's beloved Memphis Grizzlies tonight, the early game tonight, Boston at Milwaukee. Milwaukee up 3-2. They're going to try to close it out tonight at home. They better, because you don't want to go play a Game 7 in Boston if you're the Bucks. But also another Game 6 at Golden State tonight. The Memphis Grizzlies, Jeremy's team at Golden State. Golden State, I think most people assume they're going to close that thing out tonight. Do you think the Grizzlies can rise up after the 39-point win over Golden State just 2 nights ago?
There's no reason at this point to believe that they couldn't rise up, but with Golden State being at home and the beatdown that they suffered, and a lot of people now referencing, we talked about the songs yesterday, and the Golden State Warriors kind of using those as a piece of their smack talk, and then they ended up getting smacked. That I think they'll be a little bit more settled down. They're playing at home. They're going to want to, now that Suns Mavericks series is extended once again, now they get back on the upper hand of having that extra day of rest. So I look for the Warriors to close out tonight.
So yeah, should be a lot of fun tonight, and just circle Sunday on your calendar, because that will be Game 7 between the Mavs and the Suns, and a possible Game 7. If Boston wins tonight, we'll have 2 Game 7s on Sunday. Mavericks at the Suns, and then we would have Milwaukee at Boston for a Game 7 there. I do want to mention, Shannon, we've alluded to it a few times this morning. Houston Astros have now won 10 in a row. They sweep the Minnesota Twins in Minneapolis. They fly to Washington 6:05 tonight. They'll begin a series against the Washington Nationals. Nationals are 11-22 overall. Nationals are 4-13 at home. Astros have a shot here, Shannon. The longest winning streak in Major League Baseball this year. The Yankees had an 11-game win streak. Astros could equal that with a win tonight in Washington. They could exceed that if they win the next 2 at Washington. How you feeling about the Houston Astros? Whoops, we got we're missing your audio. There it is. Okay.
I like it, and the Nationals and Astros obviously share spring training camp ground, so it should feel, it should have a good feel to it. It shouldn't be a team that surprises them in any way. So as long as they keep doing what they've been doing over this 10-game stretch, I think they'll be all right and go ahead and continue that win streak through the weekend.
So nice to see the Astros on a win streak and playing like we expected them to play, like the Houston Astros. Shannon Salty Sweeney, you are in Houston for the weekend, home of the Astros, although they're on the road at Washington. Any big weekend plans other than Game 7, Mavs versus Suns on Sunday?
Well, tonight's Astros game, I believe, is going to be on ESPN Plus, which we have. Woo! So hopefully tune into that. And I don't know, anything else, we'll see.
Jeremy, if your Memphis Grizzlies are eliminated tonight, the late game at Golden State, will you Will you have a Steph Curry voodoo doll? Will you shed a few tears? Will you throw a tantrum like Jerry West? Will you throw a trophy through a window?
We'll see how I react in the moment, natural reaction. But it's Friday the 13th, man. Anything can happen today.
Oh, it could be unlucky for Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. And you're right. So keep an eye. And Friday the 13th, who will it be unlucky for in the world of sports? Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, outstanding as always. Great week. We'll do this again on Monday.
I look forward to it.
Jeremy, best of luck. I want your Grizzlies to win tonight. I will be watching. I will be pulling for them. I hope you go to bed tonight a happy, happy man.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure the fact that you'll be watching that's going to put them right over the edge.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Exactly. Thank you. James Allen. Our thanks to James Allen. Our thanks to the great Paul Alexander. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy Friday the 13th. We will see you in 69 hours from now, according to Jason Paniagua. Adios, amigos. Thank you, Jason. I got that in. Fred Robert Casares Jr. says to James Allen, congratulations on your son's accomplishments. Have a great weekend. Go Texas Rangers, go. I love the Rangers too. Fred, I just like the Astros a little more. I'm a little more Astros. All right, everybody. I see Fred, Jason, Louisa, Dean, Tom. Thank you for the correction, man. Sorry about that. Tom says, by the way, the Moody Theater is awesome. I have never been in there. I will be in there a week from tonight. I'll see the Eagles at the Moody Center, which is brand new. And then Sunday night, it's Daryl Hall and Todd Rundgren at the Moody Theater. So I'm quite excited. Frank Ramirez, James Allen, Rudy Campos. Thanks, everybody. Anybody else who may still be here, have yourself a great, great weekend. Louisa, thanks for the kind words. Go Astros. Keep on keeping on. Good morning, Tom. Thanks for being in here. See y'all later. Adios.